Hello, welcome back to Our Queer Experience. Are you laughing at me already?
Yes, Bruce.
Why?
I have been thinking. The very first episode, you kind of skirted around the issue of how you and your boyfriend met. And I was hoping we could revisit that.
We're jumping right into this, aren't we?
Yes.
All right, let's do it, man. So, you did kind of allude to this, but I don't know if I skirted around it, but, it's...
E-spirited. If it wasn't fabric, then people would be concerned about me cross-dressing. It was pretty thorough.
So Robbie is his name. My boyfriend and I, well, how much details do you want, buddy?
As many as you're willing to give out.
Oh man, he's gonna. If he ever hears this, please don't break up with me, babe. I love you.
I love how you had to preface everything you say about your relationship with that.
I mean, because nobody likes to be talked about when they're not in their room, you know what I mean? And
actually, my biggest question is, why is it that he's not listening?
Well, he's sleeping right now. He works night shifts, but
that's
a good
reason.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not really into he doesn't listen to podcasts. He doesn't, do stuff like that. So I mean, it's not really his thing. So he's probably never going to hear it. So let's go ahead and dish the dirt, yeah?
Yes.
All right. So I mentioned, I guess it was the first episode. He was a truck driver, so he, drove through my city, and we met, and that's when I naturally just want to. So Andre, what about? I want to change the subject. We met on Grindr, or Growler, I guess it would, like the Scruff, one of those apps.
What was it? Yellow? Was it black, or was it black and white?
I think it was Growler. Is that the one for just bears?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And bear admirers.
How do you define a bear? This is kind of a side tangent, but I don't know what I am. I've been called a bear, but I don't think I am.
When I think of a bear, I generally think of someone who is at least 25, but usually over 30, who has somewhere between, they could be either very muscly, have more of a dad bod, or be more chubby.
Okay.
But not too chubby, because once you get beyond a certain point, people start calling you chub or super chub, which I don't really know where the boundaries between bear and chub are. But
okay, I guess that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So is it a weight thing or is it a hair thing?
Both.
Okay. So the bears are usually hairier, right?
Generally speaking.
So,
but if someone has a belly but has no hair, I think folks would still call them a bear.
A cub? Is a cub just
a cub is someone who's under
bear?
25, I would call it. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's what I would most accurately be described. I mean, I guess I'm over 25, but
I guess look a day over it.
Sure. Really?
I don't know.
And I don't necessarily have the body hair that you would expect, but I'm not hairless either. This is
how old is
we're probably
Robbie?
gonna have to edit this out. He is 24, I think. We're 3 years difference.
Oh, you're 3 years older than him.
I am.
Fun times. Look at you, pulling up the younger man. So, you said you met on Growler.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Tell us more.
So we started talking whenever he was driving through. We actually didn't meet or anything that night. We were just talking. We just, kept chatting through the app. Eventually, we started doing phone calls with each other. The next time he was coming through, which was 3-4 weeks later, we met up and had dinner. I drove up to about 45 minutes away and to meet him. We went to Applebee's, and he was wonderful. I actually thought that he was a catfish at first because, we never met, and then we were talking, and I fell for him before I ever even met him.
Aww.
And so I was afraid I was being catfished because he was very handsome and very good personality, and you know what I mean. So I was very nervous.
He seemed too good to be true.
Right, exactly. I even texted one of my good friends, like, I'm going catfishing tonight. And then while I was on the date with him, my friend texted me, like, how's it going? Do I need to give you a call to give you a reason to leave? No, I texted him back, he's wonderful. And he really was. Like, that very first day I knew I loved him. That sounds really cliche and really, I know, but it's true. I mean, whenever I came out, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, that special romantic restaurant you told us about on Valentine's Day, is that Applebee's? Is that your special place?
No. It's actually a gay bar here in Columbus.
Even more romantic.
It is. I mean, it's not necessarily a romantic place. There's not candles and, all that. But it's romantic to us. The first time that we came to Columbus. Yeah, exactly. It's called Union.
Cool beans.
Yeah. The first time we came to Columbus, that was where we went. And, we just have nostalgia and memories there. So that's why it's our place.
Aww.
Yeah,
Cute.
Yeah.
You should totally get them up for an endorsement deal.
Yeah, right. So that's why I kind of don't usually give the details of how we met. Because if, you tell somebody that you met on Growler and they just assume that, oh, well, he's just like you called me last episode, he's just a whore. And then, I'm teasing.
I never use those words.
I know. But people make these assumptions about, people who get together on these apps. So that's why I don't normally give details, because it's nothing like that. Like, it just gives the wrong impression right off the bat. And I don't even say that it's nothing like that as if there's anything wrong with those apps. That's just not how it happened for us. Have you ever used those apps?
Oh, yeah. I've been online dating since junior year of college. I'm not proud to say I've been on it. I think it will be 11 years this December. So, yeah, fun times. So
were they always boys in your city, or did you ever try anything long distance?
Oh, yeah. Thanks to OKCupid, I have talked and met guys all over the place.
Oh.
All around the U.S. and beyond. Yeah. I almost went to visit a guy in Idaho because
that's random.
We have sort of, we have been talking and we were involved in the same collegiate ministry, and we seemed to be getting along really well. We talked 3 days a week, and it was beautiful, and we texted all the time, and I thought we really liked each other. And then one day he was like, Ashley, I don't like this. It's kind of a chore to talk to you because I don't really want to do it anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. But good thing I didn't buy a plane ticket.
It didn't work with
long
the
distance, and it didn't, not only was it long, because with long distance, I feel like you have to work a lot harder, especially if you don't have that real-life connection going into it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that if it wasn't long distance, it would have worked out?
It probably would have maybe lasted a little longer, but it probably would have fizzled out.
Okay.
There's two other guys I encountered, both on OkCupid. One that I got to hang out with a few times, and one that I never got to hang out with. Both of them I liked a lot, and I think both of them really liked me as well. And in both situations, if it wasn't long distance, both of those probably would have turned into significant relationships. But given that there were hundreds of miles between us, that's just life.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie and I are an example of long distance that you can make it work. Is like you were saying, it takes a lot more work, but you can. I mean, it's possible.
Oh yeah.
Not always, though.
Both my brothers dated their wives long distance before they got married, so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For how long?
But of course, both my brothers met them, knew their wives in person and had built up, in one brother's case, several months, in the other brother's case, a year or two of, in-person togetherness before spending a few years apart like they did.
A few years, so that's tough.
Yeah, but they made it work, And now they're both married. Children.
Yay, kids. So I've had long distance that didn't work out too. This is probably kind of a long story, but I guess I should get into it. My very first boyfriend. I've kind of talked about him at least once before.
The one that you worked with freshman year?
Yeah, he was my first pretty much everything. Well, not really.
Okay.
The one I gave my V card to, I guess. And he was my first boyfriend. I wasn't even out to myself at the time, so I'd never called him my boyfriend at the time. But we didn't date anybody else. We were only really with each other, even though I never even gave him that title at the time. So this was, freshman year of college. We lived together for a few years, just as roommates in the dorms. And then whenever I'm getting sad talking about this, man. Whenever I transferred schools, so I transferred universities after a couple of years, he even moved with me to my new school and lived together for a while. I still wasn't, even close to comfortable with my sexuality, much less having a boyfriend. So, he was just kind of waiting in the wings. He wanted to be with me, and I would always it's probably the biggest regret of my life. I would always just keep him at arm's length, not cared about him, you know what I mean? I wasn't willing to call him a boyfriend, but I cared about him.
You were
inside. I wasn't afraid. I didn't want to. I was afraid. I wanted him around, but I wasn't able to give him the relationship that he wanted and, frankly, that he deserved. And so went on like this for 5 or 6 years. Lived together. You know what I mean? We were just friends. We were just buddies to everybody else. He even met my parents. We'll probably talk about this a little bit in the next show, maybe. But so he even met my parents. He was my boyfriend, even though I wasn't able to call him that until almost the very end. So while I was attending the second school that I went to after I transferred, he was living with me. We even had the same job. We worked at the same place. And at some point people know, you guys are together, aren't you? And so that would make me very nervous, very uncomfortable. And I got scared, and I asked him to leave. I asked him to, because he wasn't going to school or anything. He just moved there to be with me. Told him to go. Told him to move back home, move back to Virginia is where he was from. And he did.
You all didn't break up at that point, did you?
No. I still tried to keep him in my life. So we tried the long distance thing first off, after I told him to leave, he wouldn't talk to me for 6 months or a year, which is understandable. But then we started talking again, and I would go to, we would meet halfway and have weekends together and stuff like that. And those memories, I really cherish those memories. But that's all it was, is these, hidden escapes but I still wouldn't be able to, introduce him to people as my boyfriend. So this went on for a couple of years. A couple of years past that, at this point, we had been, quote unquote, together for 7 or 8 years. And so we did the long distance thing for the last 2 or 3 years, and it just didn't work. So whenever I did come out to myself, and then to come out to other people as well, to my friends at least, my family didn't know at this point, I did get to the point at the very end that I called him my boyfriend. And that meant so much to him, which is, looking back at it, is understandable. I didn't really recognize why it meant so much at the time. So we tried to do the long distance, like we legitimately tried to do the long distance thing for a while, for a few years, and it just didn't work. It's not that we didn't put in the effort, because we did. It's just when you don't see each other, you get mistrustful, you get paranoid, you start to just assume the worst about the other person, even when it's not true. When you don't have that physical contact, when you can't make love, then, I mean, that just may be my situation, but in a discussion of long-distance relationships, I know that they don't always work. And if he and I were together, if I had never told him to leave, I mean, obviously,
you think it would have worked then?
Where I would be right now. I don't have any reason to back this up, but I don't think so. Even still, I don't think so. Obviously, you don't know. Like, you can never know for sure whether it would or not, but I don't think so. I think that I'm with so whenever I was moving to Ohio with my current boyfriend, that's when I told the guy I was telling you about that it's not going to happen. We're not going to be together. And that was so hard. I mean, it was hard for him, but it was hard for me too. But it's the guilt that even to this day, that I carry about that is intense. I haven't forgiven myself, and I don't know if I can or if I even should. I broke him.
That is a conversation that's bigger than what we can talk about today.
But you asked, so I told you.
Perfect. Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. I know that wasn't easy.
Yeah. It's what we're doing here in this podcast.
I know, sharing our experiences, because everything is not happy, happy, joy, joy, big fluffy unicorns all the time. And it's definitely, we are not afraid to share the serious stuff, the sad stuff, the less happy things.
Yep.
And it sounds like this was really tough to you, and that because of the timing and the distance and everything is kind of compounded each other. It's kind of what happened in this relationship. And it's almost as if, like, I find it interesting that with this first one, you had that really strong in-person experiences that was kind of provided a foundation ahead of becoming long distance. Whereas with your current boyfriend, Robbie, you started off long distance before having the in-person connection. And so I think it goes to show you that if it's going to work, it's going to work. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
I completely agree with that conclusion. Yeah, it is. It just takes more work for long distance. But if it's going to work, then if you're meant to be together, then you're going to be together. It's like there's a country song, and I don't even listen to country that much, but, I mean, if it's meant to be, just let it be. Like, don't overthink it. Just communicate with your partner, be on the same page, be honest with each other, and put in the work that it takes to be together. That's it.
Yeah. If it bodes well for you, from my experience as being a professional third wheel for so long in my life, I have seen that with long-distance relationships, once the two people are both in the same town, they either break up or they get married. So it sounds like you and Robbie may have wedding bells in the future. Yay!
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen at some point, but that's an entirely separate. That's a separate episode of itself.
Coming next time, planning a wedding of the century. No.
Right? I mean, I kind of have convoluted feelings about marriage. Being a gay man, I'm a little bit jaded about it, but we won't get into that today.
Yeah.
Keep listening.
That is a feature topic.
Yeah.
Well, with all that said, I believe next time, on Wednesday, we will be continuing responding to listener question and thinking about when do we introduce our partners to our parents. It is a tricky situation, especially depending on how your parents feel about you being in a queer relationship. So I look forward to that conversation. How about you, Bruce?
Absolutely, I look forward to it. Come back on Friday and hang out with us.
Wednesday. Come back Wednesday.
Oh, come on, yeah. Come back on Wednesday, and I can't get this right, man. Just take us out. Just finish us up.
Bye, y'all.